Hi everybody, and welcome back to TRUDGE, a journey to being recovered. My name is Dexter. I am a recovered drug addict alcoholic. Welcome back to the program. I hope everyone is doing well. Things are going really well for me. Last week we started the chapter, or actually I did start the chapter called To Employers, and then I uploaded it, and I just went and looked at my edits and it got cut in half. And somehow I managed to delete the video that I filmed of myself, so I'm going to redo it. So, we are on page 136. We have finished the chapter called The Family Afterward. We're moving through the chapter called To Employers. This is for employers and the relations that happen between employers and employees of men and women who are of the alcoholic mentality, who suffer from this disease, this affliction, these bedevilments. Very specific chapters we're going through right now to wives, the family, now for employers. After we finish this chapter, we're going to do a chapter called A Vision for You, one of my favorite chapters of the entire book. So I'm playing catch up because I basically wasted a week's worth of work, but that's okay because my commitment to this work is absolutely of paramount importance into keeping me recovered and to helping you, the viewer out there who wants to continue on with their spiritual awakening. To me, there's nothing more important than this work. So to me, it's not a wasted week. I just get to do it again. Let's go ahead and open our book studies like we open all our book studies with the third step prayer. For those of you who have just joined the program, that's on page 63. It is highlighted pink. Pink stands for prayers. Let's invite God in and get to work, shall we? We've got some catching up to do. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thanks to those of you who joined in, and let's get started. Page 136, chapter 10, To Employers. I don't have a whole lot highlighted here. A lot of it will kind of happen as we go. I'm not as familiar with this chapter as I am some of the others. My sponsor never went over this chapter with me. She said it's for employers, but I believe that anything written in this book, it definitely has its advantages and can only be helpful. Today, I'm in charge of a small group of people at work. I am their employer, so this can only benefit me, as I'm sure it can benefit you, the viewer. Among many employers nowadays, we think of one member who has spent much of his life in the world of big business. He has hired and fired hundreds of men. He knows the alcoholic as the employer sees him. His present views ought to prove exceptionally useful to businessmen everywhere. But let him tell you, I was one time assistant manager of a corporation department employing 6,600 men. One day my secretary came in saying that Mr. B insisted on speaking with me. I told her to say that I was not interested. I had warned him several times that he had but one more chance. Not long afterward, he had called me from Hartford on 2 successive days, so drunk he could hardly speak. I told him he was through, finally and forever. My secretary returned to say that it was not Mr. B on the phone, but it was Mr. B's brother, and he wished to give me a message. I still expected a plea for clemency, but these words came through the receiver. Said, I just wanted to tell you that Paul jumped from a hotel window in Hartford last Saturday. He left us a note saying that you were the best boss he had ever had and that you were not to blame in any way. Another time, as I opened the letter which lay on my desk, a newspaper clipping fell out. It was the obituary of one of the best salesmen I had ever had. After 2 weeks of drinking, he had placed his toe on the trigger of a loaded shotgun. The barrel was in his mouth. I had discharged him for drinking 6 weeks before. Still another experience. A woman's voice came faintly over a long distance from Virginia. She wanted to know if her husband's company insurance was still in force. 4 days before, he had hanged himself in his woodshed. I had been obliged to discharge him for drinking, though he was brilliant, alert, and one of the best organizers I have ever known. Here were 3 exceptional men lost to this world because I did not understand alcoholism as I do now. And this is very important. The person in question needs to understand alcoholism, the wife, the husband, the kids, the employer. I think a big part of the problem we have today socially and understanding what alcoholism is that people don't really get it. Most people think that, well, why can't you just stop? You know, the chapter more about alcoholism touched on this a lot. You know, the doctor's opinion more about alcoholism. They break down this malady so it's understood by all. Most people don't get it. You know, left to your own devices, a real alcoholic is going to drink. Most people don't understand that. Most people don't see this as being an illness or a disease. They see it as being some kind of moral deficiency, which, my friends, if you're anything like me, anything like the man or woman on page 21 in this book, you know that there's nothing that could be more further than the truth. It says, what irony, I became an alcoholic myself, and but for the intervention of an understanding person, I might have followed in their footsteps. My downfall cost the business community unknown thousands of dollars, for it takes real money to train a man for an executive position. This kind of waste goes unabated. We think the business fabric is shot through with a situation which might be helped by better understanding all around. Again, we want you to understand the whole nucleus of this disease. We want you to understand the phenomenon of craving, coupled with the the obsession of the mind. We want you to understand that no real alcoholic, no real drug addict left to his own devices will be able to stop left on their own power. This is a spiritual sickness. It must be treated spiritually. Nearly every modern employer feels a moral responsibility for the well-being of his help, and he tries to meet these responsibilities. That he has not always done so for the alcoholic is easily understood. To him, the alcoholic has often seemed a fool of the first magnitude. Because of the employee's special ability, or his own strong personal attachment to him, the employer has sometimes kept such a man at work long beyond a reasonable period. Okay, this is something that happens quite a bit. Some employers have tried every known remedy. In only a few instances, there has been lack of patience and tolerance. I have the words patience and tolerance highlighted orange. More of these spiritual principles that keep coming up throughout the work, throughout the program. And we who have imposed on the best of employers can scarcely blame them if they have been short with us, showing up for work drunk, using drugs at work, selling drugs at work, showing up late for work, not showing up for work at all. These are all things that the book's talking about, things that I have done, things that a lot of us who have, been there at that deep, dark bottoms, these moments of the height of our alcoholism can relate to, can understand. Here, for instance, is a typical example. An officer of one of the largest banking institutions in America knows I no longer drink. One day he told me about an executive of the same bank who, from his description, was undoubtedly alcoholic. This seemed to me like an opportunity to be helpful, so I spent 2 hours talking about alcoholism, the malady, and described the symptoms and results as well as I could. So there's a person that understands, the doctor's opinion, understands the chapter about alcoholism, okay? That's where that knowledge about this disease is. His comment was, very interesting, but I'm sure this man is done drinking. He has just returned from a 3-month leave of absence, has taken a cure, looks fine, and to clinch the matter, the board of directors told him that this was his last chance. Now, I've had ultimatums like that given to me before, and it never stopped me from picking up a drink. It just goes to show how people don't really understand what it takes to be recovered, or thinking a man is cured. Taking a cure, what cure did he take? That's what I'm interested in knowing. The only answer I could make was that if the man followed the usual pattern, he would go on a bigger bust than ever. I felt this was inevitable and wondered if the bank was doing the man an injustice. Why not bring him into contact with some of our alcoholic crowd? He might have a chance. I pointed out that I had nothing to drink whatever for 3 years, and this in the face of difficulties that would have made 9 out of 10 men drink their heads off, okay? So here's that bearing witness that he's saying, okay? This, I got through some of the hardest times here where most other people would have drank. Why not allow us to help him, okay? Why not at least afford him an opportunity to hear my story? This is that 12-step work that the book is just continually pumping, into our heads that we need to do so we can stay well. Helping others keeps us recovered, okay? Oh no, said my friend. This chap is either through with liquor or he is minus a job, thinking that, by pulling his job, right, he's going to be cured of alcoholism. I mean, that's like crazy to think that that's what it's going to take. Sometimes people die over other people's drinking, and that does not stop them from drinking. You think you're going to fire this guy and he's going to be well? No. If he has your willpower and guts, he will make the grade. I wanted to throw up my hands in discouragement, for I saw that I had failed to help my banker friend understand. Okay, and sometimes you just can't make people understand. There's really, sometimes they're just not going to get it. He simply could not believe that his brother executive suffered from a serious illness. This is a big problem in 2014. People don't see this as being a problematic illness. Alcoholism and drug addiction is killing more people than anything else nowadays. People just don't see it as being that kind of a illness. They see it as being something that if you really want to stop, you could stop. That's crazy talk. That's nonsense, okay? There was nothing to do but wait. Presently, the man did slip and was fired. Following his discharge, we contacted him. Without much ado, he accepted, and the word accepted is going to be highlighted orange, okay? He accepted the principles and procedure that had helped us. And that's just the steps. The 12 steps to having a spiritual awakening, having a God of your understanding in your life. That's what we're talking about here, okay? He is undoubtedly on the road to recovery. To me, and this next part of the sentence is going to be highlighted orange. It says, this incident illustrates the lack of understanding as to what really ails the alcoholic. Number one problem, as far as I'm concerned, as far as other people and how they view the person who has this malady. They just don't understand, okay? And the lack of knowledge as to what part employers might profitably take in salvaging their sick employees. Okay, they're sick employees. Yes, they're alcoholics. Yes, they have this problem. But, this is very clear. These specific chapters, the wife, the family, the employer, what they can do, the best thing they can do to get started here in helping the man or woman in question is understanding the disease. That's why these chapters are here. That's why the doctor's opinion is one of the first chapters in the beginning of the book. We can't fix a problem until we understand what the problem is. Okay, if I take my car to the mechanic and just say, I don't know what's wrong with it, but I need it fixed, he's going to diagnose my car. Same thing here. We need to understand what the diagnosis of this person in question is. Is he a hard drinker? Is he a real alcoholic? Is he a weekend warrior? Can he stop? Can't he stop? Does that person know if he can stop? These are the questions we need to be finding out. Once we have that understanding as wives, husbands, brothers, employees, then we can get to business and helping this person, okay? So, if you desire to help, it might be well to disregard your own drinking or lack of it. Whether you are a hard drinker, a moderate drinker, or a teetotaler, you may have some pretty strong opinions, perhaps prejudices. Those who drink moderately may be more annoyed with the alcoholic than a total abstainer would be. Drinking occasionally and understanding your own reactions, it is possible for you to become quite sure of many things, which, so far as the alcoholic is concerned, are not always so. Okay, your story may not be like that person's story. Okay, as a moderate drinker, you can take your liquor or you can leave it alone. A moderate drinker cannot help a real alcoholic, with the solution, because a moderate drinker can stop. A moderate drinker can take it or leave it. A moderate drinker has that choice. Okay? Whenever you want to, you can control your drinking. Of an evening, you can go on a mild bender, get up in the morning, shake your head, and go to business. To you, liquor is no real problem. You cannot see why it should be to anyone else, save the spineless and stupid. When dealing with an alcoholic, there may be a natural annoyance that a man could be so weak, stupid, and irresponsible. Even when you understand the malady better, you still may have this feeling rising, okay? A look at the alcoholic in your organization is many times illuminating. Is he not usually brilliant, fast-thinking, imaginative, and likable? When sober, does he not work hard and have a knack of getting things done? If he had these qualities and did not drink, would he be worth retaining? Should he have the same consideration as other ailing employees? Is he worth salvaging? If your decision is yes, whether the reason be humanitarian or business or both, then the following suggestions may be helpful. So these are some of the things that they're talking to the employer about in relation to their sick employees. Can you discard the feelings that you are dealing with only with habit, with stubbornness, or with weak will? If this presents difficulty, rereading chapters 2 and 3, where the alcoholic sickness is discussed at length, might be worthwhile. So, I'm just going to go ahead and put a green star for actions all over this first paragraph, okay? They want you to understand this malady. I can't express this to you guys out there enough. You can't help somebody unless you know what's wrong with them. And thinking that they're just weak, or thinking they're, just dealing with some kind of habit, is going to only make matters worse. You're a businessman. You want to know the necessities before considering the result. And that's with anything. Why is this any different? Okay? Why? Because there's this stigma that's attached to drug addiction and alcoholism, where people who have it are just deemed as being weak. Or, they're not seen as having an illness. It's no different than having cancer, AIDS, Ebola, any of that stuff. It is an illness, and it needs to be treated specifically. And in order to be treated, that person needs to understand why this person has the problems that they're having. What makes that person tick, okay? To fix something, you have to first look at it and diagnose it and understand what needs to be done to have it be fixed. So, if you can concede that your employee is ill, can he be forgiven for what he has done in the past? Can you forgive this guy for coming in late, showing up drunk, theft, whatever it is that, is the issue? Can his past absurdities be forgotten? Can it be appreciated that he has been a victim of crooked thinking directly caused by the action of alcohol on his brain? I'm going to tell you, about a year ago, I manage a restaurant here in town, and about a year ago, there was a guy that, I really was fond of this guy, and this guy was, he was one of the most intelligent, gentle, kind, smart, loving people I'd ever met. This guy was a self-made millionaire, and lost it all, to his disease. And I tell you what, the way I was able to handle him in his situations of, knowing that he had been drinking or not showing up for work, went a long way as a recovered alcoholic, and how I was able to help the owners of the place where I work handle this gentleman, because I knew what he was going through. I understood that this guy's probably a real alcoholic, and he wanted to stop. He tried to stop. He was a wonderful human being, and when he wasn't drunk, he was like a genius to me. Probably one of the most nicest people I had ever met in my life, but we had to let him go so he could get well. My point is that I understand alcoholism. And so the way we were able to handle him was a lot better than the way we probably would have handled him if I didn't understand what he was going through, okay? I will remember the shock I received when a prominent doctor in Chicago told me of cases where pressure of the spinal fluid actually ruptured the brain. No wonder an alcoholic is strangely irrational. Who wouldn't be with such a fevered brain? Normal drinkers are not so affected, nor can they understand the aberrations of the alcoholic. Your man has probably been trying to conceal a number of scrapes, perhaps pretty messy ones. They may be disgusting. You may be at a loss to understand how such a seemingly above-board chap could be so involved. But these scrapes can generally be charged, no matter how bad, to the abnormal action of the alcohol on his mind, or the drugs on his mind. I feel like, I'm pretty, well-rounded, and I pay my bills, I'm a good dad, I show up for work on time, when it comes to, to drugs and alcohol, and those things go out the window. And my relations with anything good is gone, and people need to understand the effects that has on the human mind, on the body, okay? There's no amount of willpower that will ever get me to not engage in poor decision making when I'm of my alcoholic mentality or drug addicted mentality. It just will never happen, okay? When drinking or getting over about an alcoholic, sometimes the model of honesty, when normal, will do incredible things. I couldn't tell you some of the places I woke up and found myself or the places. Now, I mean, I look back, having had a spiritual awakening, I feel like I'm able to trust my own thinking. Things are very, very clear. There's no gray area. And I remember some of the stuff I used to do is mind-blowing to me. I'm like, why would I ever have done that? How could I ever have done that? And the truth of the matter is, there was serious consequences that I paid for, and some of it I got away with, that I dealt with and still dealing with because of those kinds of behaviors. These are the kinds of things that normal drinkers or normal people, quote unquote, don't understand unless they're reading these chapters and understanding what exactly makes this person tick, the effect of alcohol on that body or drugs on that body, okay? Afterward, his revulsion will be terrible. Nearly always, these antics indicate nothing more than temporary conditions. This is not to say that all alcoholics are honest and upright when not drinking, because we know that's not true either, okay? Of course, that isn't so, and such people often may impose upon you. Seeing your attempt to understand and help, some men will try to take advantage of your kindness. If you are sure your man does not want to stop, he may as well be discharged. The sooner, the better. You are not doing him a favor by keeping him on. The next sentence I'm going to have highlighted orange. It says, firing such an individual may prove a blessing to him. And that was the case. That was the case with me, and it's a lot of different jobs. I had some really good jobs that I got fired from. I needed to be fired. I remember I was working this one position, and I it wasn't around drugs and alcohol. And this is after I had been sober for a long time. This is a perfect example of how you can still be really, really sick, even though you're clean and sober, and I was working in this company. This wasn't that long ago. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I worked from the ground up and became a program manager at this company, and I did all this sober, but I was making some really bad decisions, and I wasn't making a whole lot of money after making a lot of money for the previous year. So I was learning how to now live, borderline poor again. And, my car got repossessed. And, I remember one night taking a company car, and because I was entitled to, because I felt like it, because, I thought I could get away with it. These are the kinds of decisions that have nothing to do with God's will, and that company car got hit in the parking lot where I worked, by a drunk driver. And I got fired, and that was really hard for me to deal with because now I had no job, back to the drawing board, no car, and because a decision that was made in self-will, it really put me in a bad spot. I look back today, that was one of the best things they could have ever done for me. Was fire me from that spot. That led me one step closer to my bottom in the rooms and recognizing that this disease is not just about not drinking every day, but about having a spiritual awakening and practicing these principles in all our affairs. See, I wasn't practicing any principles in my affairs by taking a company car home because I felt entitled to do so. These are a lot of the things that you don't hear talked about in the rooms because the people's primary concern is not drinking, and as it should be, because that's why we show up, or not drugging, why we show up. But it all starts, in my estimation, when we put the substance down. This is a design for living and learning how to live. Today, I don't steal at all. I don't have those problems. I won't fall into those consequences because I don't do things like that. So this is what, the book is trying to talk to. They fired me. It was a blessing to me. We had to let this gentleman at my job go, and I saw him a couple months back, and he looked like he was doing great, sober, happy, all the things that you talked, the book talks about earlier, like Dr. Silver had that story about how he saw a man he hadn't seen in a year and he looked really different, just so clear and just like unbelievable. That's what I saw in this guy, So sometimes firing an individual, it can prove to be a blessing. You're not doing him a favor by keeping him on. If you can tell that this person is not going to be helping himself or helping you as the employer by keeping him on, okay? It may be just the jolt he needs. I know it was for me. Looking back, it was one of the best things. If I actually could go back in time, I would I would hope I would still get fired. I wouldn't have changed anything because that was a lesson that I needed to learn, that, just because I'm sitting on 5, 6, 7, 8 years of sobriety, or recovery, well, what I thought was recovery, means nothing if I'm not practicing it in my life, and I didn't know any better. Why? Because I had never been taught that. All I was taught is that all I have to do is not drink, not use, and everything's going to be fine. And that's not necessarily so. It is for some people. That wasn't the case for me, okay? So, I know in my own particular case that nothing my company could have done would have stopped me for so long as I was able to hold my position. I could not possibly realize how serious my situation was. There it is. Same thing. I felt the same way. I thought I was doing great. Been promoted. Life is good. These people like me, but when no one was looking, I was doing some of the most underhanded things anyone could do. That's not what somebody in recovery does. I was just devoid of the substance. All I was clean, but I was still dirty as ever, okay? Had they fired me first, had they then taken steps to see what I was presented with, the solution contained in this book, I might have returned to them 6 months later, a well man. But there are many men who want to stop, and with them, you can go far, okay? If somebody wants to get well, you can go far with them, okay? Your understanding, and the word understanding is going to be circled, okay? Your understanding treatment of their cases will pay dividends. So it's telling you that how you handle the case is going to pay dividends. You can handle it with anger. You can just fire these people, get them out of your face, get them out of your business. You can sue them. You know what I mean? You can go after them for, money they may have stolen for you or whatever, or you can understand this disease, and go at them a different way. A lot of times you're going to get more bees with honey and that kind of, when it comes to that kind of ramifications around this person in question, okay? Perhaps you have such a man in mind. He wants to quit drinking and you want to help him, even if it be only a matter of good business. You now know more about alcoholism. You can see that he is mentally and physically sick. You are willing to overlook his past performances. Suppose an approach is made something like this. State that you know about his drinking and that it must stop. You might say you appreciate his abilities, you would like to help him, but you cannot if he continues to drink. A firm attitude at this point has helped many of us. Next, he can be assured that you do not intend to lecture, moralize, or condemn, that if this was done formally, it was because of a misunderstanding. If possible, express a lack of hard feeling towards him. At this point, it might be well to explain alcoholism, the illness. Say that he is gravely ill. If he is a gravely ill person with this qualification, being perhaps fatally ill, does he want to get well? Do you want to get well? What can I do to help you? You can tell if somebody is really genuine about wanting to get well. You ask because many alcoholics being warped and drugged do not want to quit. But does he, does she? Find out. Will he take every necessary step? Submit to anything to get well? To stop drinking forever? Going back to reiterating, willing to go to any lengths to do so, Here's the program we lay out. Okay, that whole paragraph there, I'm just big old green star. These are the actions that employers should be taking for a man or woman in question, okay? If he says yes, does he really mean it? Or down inside, does he think he is fooling you? And after rest and treatment, he will be able to get away with a few drinks now and then. This is going to be highlighted green, okay? It says, we believe a man should be thoroughly probed on these points. Be satisfied he is not deceiving himself for you, okay? And you can tell more times than not, especially an alcoholic who's recovered, if this man is full of it. If this woman is just kind of pulling your chain, wanting to get something from you, get well so they can go back out there, wanting to get out of rehab soon so they can go right back to ripping and running, it's like go back to the streets, get sick, go back to rehab, get well, to go back to the streets to get sick, to go back to the rooms, get well. Is it one of those kind of people, or is this person genuine, and convicted that they really want to take this program and get well in all their affairs, okay? Whether you mention this book is a matter for your own discretion. If he temporizes and still thinks he can never drink again, even beer, he might as well be discharged after the next bender, which, if an alcoholic, he's almost certain to have. I mean, it's just a matter of time. If he's an alcoholic, it's happening, okay? You write it down. It is a lock that this person is going to go about again. Either you are dealing with a man who can and will get well, or you're not. Period. End of statement. Okay? There's no gray area there. They want to get well, or they don't. If not, why waste time with them? Here you are, your employer. You've got a business to run. You've got stuff to do. You don't have time to be fooling around with somebody who's not interested or only acts like they're interested, to maybe get out of a scrape or get something from you. This is for people who are willing to go to any length and genuine about their feelings towards doing that. If they're not one of those people, see it. Okay, there's the door. So, it may seem severe, But that's usually the best course, okay? We're trying to take the best course here, you know. I mean, you could easily just call the police, have this person locked up for the stealing, or you could just fire this person and don't ever come back to my establishment. But, like, you know, if this person is sick and wants to get help, as an employer, these are some of the actions that we can do to help this person, you know, especially if you care about this person. A lot of times in these jobs, there's personal relationships that have been formed between these people, you know. My boss who fired me over that car incident, she loved me. She was great. You know, I don't have a bad thing to say about her. And this isn't a company that you know, I believe some shady stuff went on in it. But, you know, she was my direct supervisor, and boy, I know she didn't want to do it, but she had to, you know, and it was, again, one of the best things that ever happened to me, okay? After satisfying yourself that your man wants to recover, and that he will go to any extreme to do so, and he will go to any extreme to do so, highlighted orange, because that's what we're talking about here, willing to go to any lengths, not hemming and hawing, not picking and choosing, but you will do what's outlined in this book. When you figure that out, you may suggest a definite course of action. Hey man, for recovered alcoholics like myself and some of the people who wrote this book, or all the people who wrote this book, that's the 12 steps. It's the power of God, and that's altruism. You know, that's what we're talking about here, okay? For most alcoholics who are drinking or who are just getting over a spree, a certain amount of physical treatment is desirable, even imperative. And, you know, this is where these detoxes and rehabs are absolutely necessary. You're not getting through to somebody who's borderline wet brain. You're not getting through to somebody who's in a drunken stupor or a blackout, okay? These things are, it says the matter of physical treatment should, of course, be referred to your own doctor, okay? Whatever the method, its object is to thoroughly clear the mind and body of the effects of alcohol or drugs even, okay? Got to get that person clear, okay? Get to see the white of this person's eyes so you can connect with this person, then get to work, okay? In competent hands, this seldom takes long, nor is it very expensive. I don't know, maybe 1939 it wasn't. 2014, this stuff has become more and more expensive. But the bottom line is your man will fare better if placed in such physical condition that he can think straight and no longer craze liquor. Okay, so we're trying to get this person to dry out so we can get that person well. Okay, if you propose such a procedure to him, it may be necessary to advance the cost of treatment. But we believe it should be plain that any expense will be later deducted from his pay. It is better for him to feel fully responsible. Absolutely, you know, and I've never had to be in that situation. You know, I'm one of those drug addicts, alcoholics that never went to rehab. You know, I detoxed myself, I dried myself out. But if you are one of those people that you're in that situation, you have an employer that's willing to do that, you need to know that that money is going to be repaid or deducted. And as an employer, and you're wanting to help your employee in this capacity, you need to make that clear to him. I don't know if that's happening so much these days, but if it is, they're very clear what to do and how to handle it. All these pages, man, could be highlighted green as far as the employer's actions towards the employee, okay? Just to be clear, I just have some green stars, you know, over large chunks of them, because just no point in highlighting the whole thing, but the real specific actions we're going to have highlighted green, okay? So, if your man accepts your offer, it should be pointed out that physical treatment is but a small part of the picture. This is a big deal here, okay? Most people think that we're just going to go get you dried out. We're going to get you a couple meals. We'll get you some good night's sleep. And boy, and we're going to send you on your way and you'll be good again. And that's where we're dropping the ball, okay? Though you are providing him with the best possible medical attention, he should understand that he must undergo a change of heart. That psychic change that we have continued to talk about all throughout the program of TRUDGE, you know, the spiritual awakening. This is what is needed. To get over drinking will require a transformation. Let's circle the word transformation. Complete overhaul, okay, of thought and attitude. We all had to place recovery above everything. I have that highlighted orange. For without recovery, we would have lost both home and business. Can you, with every confidence in his ability to can you have every confidence in his ability to recover? While on the subject of confidence, can you adopt the attitude that so far as you are concerned, this will be strictly a personal matter? That his alcoholic derelictions, the treatment that is about to be undertaken, will never be discussed without his consent. Okay, so you need to be one that can confide with this person's, you know, personal dilemma here. This is not something that you need to be running around your establishment telling other employees or things like that, in places where there's no, human resources, programs. This is problematic. This person is coming to you in confidence, okay? It might be well to have a long chat with him on his return. To return to the subject matter of this book, it contains full suggestions by which the employee may solve his problem. To you, some of the ideas which it contains are novel. Perhaps you are not quite in sympathy with the approach we suggest. By no means do we offer the last word on this subject, but so as far as we are concerned, it has worked with us. It has worked with us, highlighted orange. This has worked with me, and it's worked with a lot of the people that I've worked with, and the people that they have worked with, who have been willing to go to any lengths to get well. Our and how it works is very clear, that we've never seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. So it's worked with us. It's here if you want it. After all, are you not looking for results rather than methods? And that's really important. There's a whole bunch of different methods that you can use, but where are the results? Look at the numbers of people who are getting well and staying well, who are recovered. You can have the sobriety and the clean time, and stay very, very sick. I know I did. Is that what you want? I don't want recovery that's predicated on a coin. And not to bash that, because that's important for other people to see, that person in question, you, me, or anyone, can accumulate, hours, minutes, months, days, years of sobriety, but there's more to it than that, okay? Whether your employee likes it or not, he will learn the grim truth of alcoholism. That won't hurt him a bit, even though he does not go for this remedy. We suggest you draw the book to the attention of the doctor who is to attend your patient during treatment. If the book is read, the moment the patient is able, while acutely depressed, realization of his condition may come to him. I have the words "the moment" circled. That action, the moment he does that, he's going to start realizing how serious this condition he has is. Okay? It's no longer a joke. We hope the doctor will tell the patient the truth about his condition, just like Dr. Silkworth told Bill, no different. Decades later, but no different. Whatever that happens to be. When the man is presented with this volume, it is best that no one tell him he must abide by its suggestions. He doesn't have to do anything. This is a matter of whether he wants to or not, okay? The man must decide for himself. I'm going to have that highlighted. The man, woman, teenager, the person doing this, they got to decide for themselves. You can't do this for anyone else. You can't get well for anyone else. No one, you can't find God. I can't find God for anyone else. This is about the person in question. And with that, we'll wrap it up for today. A couple more pages for two employers, and then we will be finished with this chapter. I'm going to, I think, go ahead and try to finish this one this week, since I'm behind after last week's edits. Didn't pan out for me, because I want to stay on track, because I think people who are watching this needs to have this and stay on track. It's my commitment to do this, and so I think I'll try to finish this one out before week's end. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope your families are well. Hope those of you who are really putting the effort into this work, going to meetings, finding other people to help, trusting God, cleaning house, relying on God, not on other people, really following the spiritual principles and applying them into your lives. I hope things are going well for you. Things are going great for me. Do I have problems? Absolutely. I've got problems like everyone else. I got health problems. I got money problems. But let me tell you, my life is fantastic, and it has never been better than it is now. And I believe it's because I live this program. I don't only live this program. It's just, I live a spiritual way of life, and it's predicated on helping others. And this is what we're trying to teach you here. And these specific chapters are in relation to people and the alcoholic, the family and the alcoholic, the wife to the alcoholic, the employer of the alcoholic. Next chapter will embody basically everything we have done to this point in vision for you. And then we'll wrap it up with Dr. Bob's nightmare. So until next time, I normally say next week, but I think I'm going to power through the rest of this chapter before this week's over and try to get it uploaded for everybody. I hope you guys are enjoying everything that you have learned, and I'm looking for people to help. Again, there's nothing that's going to ensure more permanent recovery than helping another drug addict or alcoholic. So I think that if you're not doing that, that might be something you're looking to do, or asking God's help in putting that person in your life. I know for me, a big jump came where I started to teach this work to another person, and boy, it was great. So until such time, thank you for allowing me to serve. Again, my name is Dexter. I'm a recovered drug addict alcoholic, and that will be all for Trudge today. Until the next program, namaste.